Hello, and welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I'm your host, founder, and queen bee of the Superbwoman. I'm Janet Neal. I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. And of course, I have yet another wonderful, superb woman as my guest this week, Ellen Atkins. Before we get to Ellen, let me tell you a little bit about the Superbwoman and why I started it. I come from the belief that women are powerful beings, and we can change the world when we realize that we have the power. I've seen so many times, myself included, where women are powerful and then we give our power away. It's like it just kind of evaporates. And then there are women who, and you know them, that you're just drawn to, that seem to be so comfortable in their own skin, that are doing amazing things. And I have had the privilege of meeting so many of these women and realized that it's a difference between doing and being. I don't know about you, but I was brought up with the notion that being a superwoman is an amazing thing and the goal that everyone is striving to achieve. But let me tell you, that is an unattainable status, and it doesn't work for anybody. But being a superb woman, one of these women who is comfortable in their own skin because they have learned to be themselves, that they have tapped into their innate power, that is a powerful being. That is a person who puts positive energy out into the world. And that is why I started this show, to be able to highlight these women, to give you examples of women that are doing it because they are being. So today's guest is no exception. Ellen Atkins and I met because she came in to a place I was working and had just started a new business. And we became friends and then found out that I actually knew her husband before I knew her. But Ellen has a wonderful story. She had a 30-year career in corporate America as a CPA, well-established, doing it all. And then something happened, and now Ellen has created this wonderful little Buddha man called Sid, and we're going to learn all about it. So Ellen, welcome to the show today. So Ellen, tell us, how did you go from being a CPA in corporate America to creating this wonderful little Sid? What's the story?
So I call that from CPA to Sid. And, I had a great career. There was nothing logical about me wanting to leave it. The day flew by. I was respected. I made good money. It was great, really. But somewhere along the way, there was this feeling that kept coming up, and I kept pushing it away because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. It didn't make sense. And I was very close with my boss, and I started talking about wanting to maybe do something else and maybe quitting. And she was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, just stop being so compulsive. Stop, just maybe work from home a couple days. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I'm not going to let you quit if you don't know what you're going to do, which of course I could have, but I was like, oh yeah, I can't quit because I have to say it was such a scary thing to think about. And that then 2 years would go by and I hadn't done anything, and that feeling would start coming back. And there was this knowing, and that wasn't a word that I used then. Mm-hmm. And now I would probably even say, like, my soul had stopped growing, but I didn't use the word soul then either. Mm-hmm. And I just, you know what? The thought that kept coming in my head was, if I got to the end of my life and I never had the courage to see what else was out there, nobody else would know because I had this picture-perfect life. Right. But I would know. Mm-hmm. And so one day I just finally said, okay, we have to pick a date to my boss. And the day after we brought my oldest son to college, that was my last day. And that started my journey. I had no idea what I was going to do. Mm. But for me, and not for everybody, for me, I had to cut all strings because when I tried to work at home and be less compulsive, I just wasn't really nothing was happening. So I just woke up the next day and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I thought, oh, I'll just be the perfect mom. And my kids were like, oh, really? Oh. Again, that didn't go over too big. And I went through, and I started volunteering, and then I got into green juice. And finally, I just had to stop because I couldn't use my brain to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And that's actually when the magic happened. I felt really lost, but I stopped trying to figure it out. And I just stayed in my day doing what, I had to do. But what I did is I decided to become hyper-focused on anything that made me feel good. Because I was lost and I was a little depressed, and but I will tell you this, I was never sorry I quit. I was never sorry because I just didn't want to get to that point and say I never had the courage. So I was never sorry, but it was hard. And so I thought, okay, the littlest thing, like a color, a quote, I just would notice as I went through the day, anything that had a shift. And what I fell in love with, besides now I had, it was before Pinterest, or maybe there was Pinterest, but I didn't know it because one of my nieces once came over and said, Auntie Ellen, there's Pinterest, because I had Scotch tape all over. I had quotes and colors, and then I saw these laughing monk statues in a catalog, and I ordered them. And then I loved affirmations, and so I would dress the statues up. And yes, my family was like, what happened to Mom? And I didn't know what happened, but all I knew is I was starting to be happy again. So I didn't question it. And little did I know that this would be the beginning of a business. All I knew is I was trying to pull myself into a happier place.
Right.
And so I would dress up. Oh my God, there's a Halloween store in town. It was around Halloween, and I went in, and they were like, oh, how old are your kids? And I was like, oh, no, here, do you want to see, I need outfits for my statues. And I would have wigs. I would wake up in the morning to go get coffee and sort of be like, oh, what's today going to be like? And then there was a statue that I had a wig and sunglasses and an affirmation, and I would crack myself up. And you'd walk up the stairs, and there'd be one. The mailman loved me. He never knew. I had a picture of him giving the big Sid, which wasn't really Sid yet, a package. And I would take pictures with quotes and send them to my friends, and they would crack up. And I was like, I wonder if I could make a statue that actually you could put clothes on, because the original Sid was designed so I could put clothes on, and I just was so happy. Time would fly by, and that was the beginning. But what's amazing, and this is why I know if I could do this, anybody can, because if you told me, I was a typical accountant, and I'm not now.
I can vouch for
but
that.
I was, and if you had told me, don't worry, just quit. You're going to see. You're going to build a business around positivity and create this 2 thumbs up statue. I mean, I never took it. My idea of creativity was putting a new column in an Excel spreadsheet. Seriously, I never took an art class. So the fact that I really went from that typical accountant to creating a business around positivity, a statue, a 2 thumbs up Buddha statue, I just anybody can do it.
It's amazing. So this is Sid, and Sid comes in a lot of different colors. I have a purple one at home, matches my fingernails, and this lovely gold one that I just got. And it's a much smaller version than you originally envisioned. How did you come up and create this? And I know it comes in many different colors. So how
there's meaning to different colors.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about Sid.
Okay. I was obsessed with my Laughing Monk statues. And I think first what came to me is this name. Like, I knew I was really pulled to inspiration and positivity, and I loved the statues and dressing them up. And so I just knew that's where I wanted to create a business around. And then I don't know, this name came to me, the Suburban Monk. And I love that name. And it was really funny because I filed my LLC and it was like an official business. And then my niece, Jessie, was living with us. She had graduated from college and she moved in with us. And it came in the mail on June 21st. And I was like, Jessie, I have a business. Look, the Suburban Monk. And she's like, Auntie Ellen, what's it going to do? And I was like, I have no idea. And this is, again, like being the accountant, like the old me. Yes. It was like, you just, like, one step at a time. And this is just, was so opposite. Like, I didn't know, like, where I was going to start, but I had the name, and I loved the name. And so I just, hits of inspiration would come to me. Like, if I saw from here to there, like, I would have said no, but I was like, I really wanted to make a statue. And I went running in Verona Park, which is, I love. And I don't know, I was like, oh, my son had just said his friend was sort of in between trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And I was like, maybe I'll see if he wants to intern for me. And so Jeff came over and he loved the idea. And I'm like, well, how do we make a statue? Like, really, I knew nothing. And he's like, well, I don't know, let's put an ad on Craigslist. I'm like, Craigslist? And literally, it was just step by step. We found somebody on Craigslist, and we used to meet halfway, go to the parking lot in the mall, Rockaway Mall, and he'd show us the latest. And then he was done, and he was like, okay, now you need to find someone to make a mold. And, like, literally, like a mold. Like, I was like, the only time I said mold was when I was referring to what was inside my refrigerator. I'm like, a mold? Like, so this is just the way it went. It just, I don't know, something would happen, the next step. And
it sounds like there was a lot of trust involved.
Yeah, there was something, you know what there was? I was so hooked in to my newfound happiness and excitement that I think that took over all the practical side, that I lived my life with, you know, like having the right snack for carpool. That when you're hooked into that excitement, and yes, I started reading everything spiritual and metaphysical, and that I didn't really stop to think, like, do you really know what you're doing? I just, the excitement and the people you would meet, and like the next person would show up, like when I would have a minute, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to sleep. There would be an email, and the next person would show up. So it was such a journey of being supported. Like, I can look back, you know, wasn't always in the moment, but when I tell you, every time I was like, I don't know, something would happen. And even the person that finally just started making the statues, it was like the sample wasn't right, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I went to bed and I looked up and I'm like, Sid, you've got to help out here. And the next morning he emailed me and he was like, Ellen, I have worked in this field for so long, and there's something about the energy of your statue, and it has to be perfect, and you can't give up. And this guy didn't know me.
This was the manufacturer?
Yes, and it was such a small one. I tell you, I think I made 114 different colors. Like, 100 is nothing for like, he makes millions. And like, whenever I would look up and say, I don't know, something like that would happen.
Wow.
Yeah. It was unbelievable.
So I think this is a classic story on moving from the doing to the being. Yeah. That when you let go of the focus on the doing and focused on the being, that's when you got all your answers. And that's when you tapped into your essence and your power. And I did not know Ellen before this iteration, Ellen 2.0, but I can tell you there is a vibrancy and an energy about her that I'm sure is coming through to you now. So you mentioned that people would show up at the, when you needed them. So, I always am saying, we cannot do this alone. So tell us about those that have helped you on your path.
When I was in this period, I was still at the point feeling a little lost, and somebody said, Ellen, go away for the weekend. And the truth is, Janet, like, I didn't know where to go. Like, I don't play golf. Yeah. I didn't want to go to a spa. And I realized, like, oh my God, I had spent 30 years. We have 3 beautiful sons. And between working full time and raising the kids, like, I really didn't know what to do. And that was really something. And so I was like, I felt like I needed to go away for a weekend then a friend said to me, there's a place called Omega Institute, and it's courses around mind, body, spirit, which even those words then, I was like, really? I didn't do yoga. I was like, oh, please don't make me give up my laptop for yoga. It hurts my hand, that downward dog thing. But the best part is they were having an annual conference, and I thought, okay, it's in New York City. I can stay in the hotel. If I don't like this stuff, I'll order room service, watch movies, and go shopping. That was my plan. Like, I was like, I have no idea. All I know is it has, like, mind, body, spirit in it, and I probably won't like it, and I went, and oh my God, it was like, wow, there's this whole world that I didn't know about. I listened to, I don't know if you know, Michael Beckwith.
Yes.
Oh my God. And his wife, Ricky Byers Beckwith. And she would sing, and he led us in a meditation, which I had not meditated. And we had to all hold hands and close our eyes. And I don't know, these like tears were pouring down. And like when I opened my eyes, everybody had stopped holding hands. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm sure these women were like, we better not let go. And I went to like James Van Praagh, the medium, and Debbie Ford and Elizabeth Lesser. And I was like, oh my God, there is this whole community of things that I'm feeling in me. And Michael Beckwith's like visioning process, and then I was starting to get into, the idea of Sid and just tapping into my inspiration, and that, and then of course how things show up. And the other thing I should say is during that period, I felt like I wanted to pull away from a little bit from my group of friends, which because I was trying to find out who the new Ellen was. And then there I was, and I run into our dog trainer, and she looks at me and she's like, I bet you didn't know I was into all this. And I'm like, this is the first time. And then we just connected on a new level, and she invited me out with her friends, and then I was able to call in these new friends and bring back my old friends. But that was just reconnecting in a different way with Barbara. And everybody knows somebody. And all of a sudden, it's like this new world that, who knew?
Right.
Like, who knew you could be, like, normal and, whatever that is. Normal is actually overrated. But it was just like, I didn't know. Like, I spent my days working, and then the kids and the sports on the weekend, and being the perfect daughter-in-law or friend. And I was just like, oh my God, thank God I had the courage, because you really can, like, create this life that just really taps into like such inspiration and fun.
That's fabulous. That's
Yeah.
fabulous. So another thing we talk about, my observation has been that superb women have let go of the shoulds in their life, the shoulds that carry the guilt. What about you? Are there shoulds that you've let go of?
Sure.
I mean, just kind of mentioned a little bit about the perfectionism.
Yeah. You know, I look back, I don't know how I did it, but we do it. And I was so, yeah, I had the perfectionist, like it had to be the perfect gift. I'm like, I happen to be a great gift giver. So even though I had zero, it was just like I was always doing and trying to live up to something. And I really let go of that. I let go of that. I let go of just tapping into what my strengths are and letting go of the fact that I'm still not a great cook and I don't care. But when people come to our home, they always have a good time and we're great hosts. But you know, during those years, I was just always, I shouldn't cater. I really shouldn't.
Yeah,
I shouldn't cater and tell them to make it look like I made it. But yeah, I just my focus is on being like happy and giving back and being inspired. And I really spent so much time. I think also the guilt from working, so I would have to be. You know what? I had to really have the perfect gift and you know, I just think there was this definitely this perfectionism.
Yeah. And so, how does gratitude factor into your life now? I have a feeling it does.
You know, it does, but what's so interesting is when I first quit and felt really lost, I felt like, gosh, I'm so blessed. I had the choice to quit. I felt like I shouldn't be going through this because I have such a great life. But I totally believe in gratitude and I am so grateful. But for me, what I think is most important first is to constantly tap into being inspired and being so excited about life. And then my gratitude naturally comes. Like you will see me, you know, I am just always twirling and thanking the universe and in the woods and talking to trees. And but in the early days, when I would just go right to a gratitude list, it almost brought up a little guilt in me. Like I should be grateful.
Another should there.
Yeah. So now, gratitude is just tied into everything I do. But if I wake up and I'm like off, like I go to all the amazing things that I'm just so grateful for and excited about. So they're sort of intertwined. But I think when I just went to the gratitude journal, sometimes this should and this guilt came up. So it's intertwined with everything I do, but I like to sort of plug in to being like so excited and then like it naturally, like I am always looking up, thanking and being so grateful.
Again, it's from your being. It's not from something that you're doing. Like making the
I guess
list.
it's not the gratitude from my head. It's
from
just from my heart.
Yeah. That's excellent. That's excellent. So what's next for you? Tell us what's on the agenda here.
Well, what's next for me, my intention for everything I do is to share my inspiration and happiness and joy and if that means encouraging, hopefully it encourages other women and men. And for Sid, he's told me that he would like to be the symbol of happiness. So like all the things that I see, my intention for him to be the physical manifestation of that, and I think maybe an international symbol of happiness and hope and healing and joy, and that you can do it.
Yeah. And how do people find out about Sid? How do they get their very own Sid?
So you can go to the website, thesuburbanmonk.com. And there's also some stores if you'd rather pop in there. but it's all on the website. So
Excellent. Well, Ellen, thank you so much for being my guest and for
thank
sharing
you.
SID with me and the world. And I just wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you, Janet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. So thank you for joining us this week on Superwoman Sundays at 7. At the end, you'll see a slide that will have more information on how to get a hold of Ellen, how to get your very own SID and put some positive, happy energy back out into the world. We all need it. And you'll also find information on joining the tribe of superb women. I would love you to be a part of my tribe. Go to my website and you'll see the slide for this at thesuperbwoman.com/the-tribe for more information, how you can be a part of a tribe of superb women. And next week, I'll have another fabulous, superb guest. Until then, have a superb week. Thanks.